Hey, I'm back here with my friend Greg Curtis and a new friend, Tommy Carreras. Welcome, guys. We're going to talk about like assimilation and helping families take next steps. And if anybody's like a longtime listener to this podcast, Greg, you've been on at least once before, maybe twice.
Yeah,
And it's
twice.
been too long. And I was like, we need an update. I've been getting your emails as I do, talking to other leaders in other churches who follow your stuff. And you've done something new, and you're about to do something new again. And I'm like, I got to hear about it. And then Tommy's come on board to help other churches too. So let's do some quick introductions, then we'll dig into it. So Greg, tell us a little about you, and then Tommy, you can go after him.
Well, I have been since 2012 the director of assimilation at Eastside Christian Church in California. We're a seven-campus church across three states, and I also have taken on the realm of content development at our church as well. On the
Okay.
side, I have an organization called Climbing the Assimileas, and we work with churches helping them create engagement pathways so that people connect quickly and well, so that disciples can be made of them. So uh, that's what I do with other churches. And Tommy is on my team.
All right.
Yeah, I
Tommy.
started off I met Greg almost 15 years ago now, and I was at his first ever training for churches that were trying to do assimilation well. And I learned all the best stuff that I learned in ministry. About half of it, at least, was from Greg, even though I never
Mm.
worked alongside him. And so we grew from 300 to 2,000 while I was pastor of adult ministry at a church in Ventura, California. Loved every minute of it. Moved recently, 5 years ago now, to Franklin, Tennessee to live by family. And got to start working with Greg a couple years into that, coaching churches and developing what we do with Climbing the Assimileas. And it has been an absolute blast.
You're like part of the swath of people that went from California to Tennessee. And
I'm
to
just part of the numbers. Yeah, part of the
yeah,
crowd.
yeah. And Franklin, which basically feels like Nashville now because of the, the
Hmm.
growth of
Yep.
Nashville. So that's fun. Cool. Okay. Well, here's what I want to do. People, if they want to go back, they can listen to old podcasts we did, Greg, where you used to do a model of your assimilation plan, like kind of the thing that you had people sign up for after they started attending. That was like 7 weeks long, and then there was a 4 week version. We talked about that. Give us a recap of those two models. I'm calling them models, and then we'll get into what you're doing now and what you're thinking about next.
Okay, so one of the things I learned real quick is Eastside uh, became the second fastest growing church in the country. My job was to chase that growth, help us chase that growth with a connection strategy, which was very
Mm-hmm.
challenging. Took a
Mm-hmm.
lot of energy, and for my personality, it was very very fun. We had I had to we had people that were from literally all over the world that were connecting with us, saying how is this happening? Because in 7 years we went from 3,200 to 12,000, and like
Mm-hmm.
how do you do that? And it became very important to me that I not say, well, here's what Eastside does, so just do what we do. I just think that there's so many reasons why that's ineffective. So what I tried to identify the universals that, regardless of size, scale, culture, what I'm seeing with churches that I've worked with, again, all over the world, of as small as 30, big as 25,000, and everything in between. What are the universals that work? And I came up with this 4P thing that you send your guests to one place, drive them to one program. They get involved in two processes, volunteer placement and small group placement, and then they land in two placements. That means that they're connected, they're assimilated, which is a small group and a ministry team. So that the journey of assimilating a guest is the journey from being a first time guest and to a connected serving member, connected small group, serving ministry team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so within those 4P format and understanding, not only do churches do many different things, but they need all 4Ps there in place. But we have done different things. We're getting ready for, I think, our fourth iteration in 13 years now. Okay, so the first iteration was we were one campus. We were not multi-campus when we started in 2012. So it was called First Step with Gene. Gene Apple's our senior pastor. So we would do a gathering of for pizza where they got an orientation and a strong invite to go to a quarterly program that I created called the First Step Experience. It was 7 weeks long. So you went to this Pizza with Gene, and then went into the this 7 week thing. And it was very successful. We had about 2,000 guests a year in those early days, and in those first couple of years. And we brought 1,200 of them through First Step with Gene. So that's 60%. And then we brought about 650 through each year through the First Step Experience. And we launched 1/3 to 2/3 of the tables as small groups with at that time. And I forget what our stats were for volunteerism, but they were real strong. But back in those days, people were more apt to jump into a small group than a volunteer role, which has changed, which we'll talk about later. But that was where we started. And then we became multi-campus, and we were growing so fast that we couldn't assimilate them in a quarterly strategy. So what we
You didn't want to wait, like, hey, sorry, wait 2 months till the next. Is that how it worked? Like, they weren't rolling. Yeah. So if you were new, you might have to wait 5 weeks for the next
or
thing.
longer, depending on when you came in. Yeah. So that's when we kind of borrowed the husk or the format from Church of the Highlands, which was 4 weeks, start anytime, finish anytime, but none of the content. We created our own vibe, our own thing, and so we did that all the way till a couple of years ago, and then we made a big change, and we can wait to talk about that, and then we're getting ready to make another one, but we've. I'll just say as much as we went to a 1 week, and we'll talk about what that looks like later. But
I want to talk. I want to hit the 1 week, and because now you've done it for a couple of years, I think you said, and I've watched from afar. I get your emails. Obviously, it's funny, Greg. You are like the assimilation guy. I work with a lot of churches on the volunteer side, and we talk about everything when you're on site, right? And if assimilation comes up, I'm like, hey, you got to follow Greg Curtis. Like, oh, yeah, we like his site. We get his emails. Like, oh, yeah, of course you do. Because if you care about this at all, they're following you. Yeah. I'm going to come to you, Tommy, real quick with a question before we get into the 1 week and what you're looking at next. Because you work with other churches to help them do this. Greg, you've done that too for years. What is the most common thing right now, like in other churches? Is it a 4 week? Is it a 1 week? Is it we don't even know?
Well, it's a lot of we don't even know. It's a lot of legacy programs, honestly. It's a lot of people who are running something that they didn't create. That's the most common thing I see. Because usually assimilation lives in the no man's land of it's not anybody's actual job title. It's just another thing that they have to do. And so somebody created it. Sometimes, a church I worked with 3 days ago, it was like written and created by the last lead pastor, inherited by the next one. He changed a little bit of it, but then it was 2 or 3 different people had actually led the meeting and the program in between that. And then now this person was like, what do I do with this thing? And they're just doing stuff. Do it. They just still do it because nobody really has the authority to change it. And so it's a lot of inherited legacy programs that do a lot of things that are really educational feeling, informative. Sometimes they're 4 weeks, probably because they got some kind of Church of the Highlands growth track style thing going on. And a lot of those are somewhat successful. I mean, people like it when they go through it. The question is how many people are going through it. And it's usually not very many at this point. And they also often will do it twice a year. They don't really know what purpose it serves. They don't really see how it connects to all the other things. It's just something floating off in an island, and it's nice when people go to it, but it's not accomplishing something because nobody created it. Somebody else in the past did, and then they handed it down. That's the most common thing that I see right now.
And I'll say too, using that 4P thing I was talking about, that the one program dimension of an engagement strategy, what really changed things was COVID, like it did for everybody in so many different ways. But COVID broke attendance patterns for the church people, especially. But your people who were coming every 3 out of 4 weeks a month or better were now coming 1.5 weeks on average, kind of thing. And they were straddling your online campus and their physical campus. And so they just enjoyed that freedom, and they weren't really going back. And we found that there were so many people in that category, churches did in general, that that's when we started seeing our stats. Like I was like, whoa, what's with our stats? They're just not what they used to be. Getting people to come 4 weeks in a row, or even 4 weeks based on whatever they really wanted.
Yeah.
We're leveraging more spontaneous decisions about if they're going physical or digital in their church experience that Sunday. So I'd noticed that many other churches were trying a 1 weeker. And so started studying their results in depth, started talking with those churches. But I still see some churches, like I know there's a church in Indiana that we work with closely.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Kyle at Northside. They do a 2 weeker, and he asked me really honestly. He's part of our Sherpa tribe, like our group of people that gather all the time to talk about this stuff. And he was asking, like, everybody seems to be doing this 1 week thing. Should I do a 1 week? I was like, okay, well, what problem would you be trying to solve by going from 2 to 1? And he said, well, I mean, we got 95% retention. I said, stop.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Never change that, man. You're crushing it. You get 2 weeks to convince people to do something, and you get 95% of them for that 2 weeks. Never change that. No, don't follow. Don't jump on that bandwagon.
Instead, tell us what you're doing.
50%. Yeah, exactly. And I did. I was like, tell me how you did that. And then I sent an email to everybody and said, this is how he's doing that. You should all do that too. But the more time you get with people, the better. The question is, how many people can you retain for that long? And that was the problem with the 4 weeks. Why Greg specifically moved to the 1 week was, if we can't get the people for all 4 weeks, or even most of them, or they're spreading it out over 4 months, are we getting that momentum built? Are we getting the time and the connectivity that's required to get people to take a next step? One of the things we talk about often, and I've been saying more and more, is people don't take next steps because they're informed well. They take next steps because they feel connected and known. That's what gets people to move toward the center of a community, which volunteering, small groups, giving, all of that you do because you feel like you want to be at the center of that community. So you take a step toward the center of it. And that's all about knownness. And if you can accomplish that in 1 week, excellent. If it takes you 2, you have a lot of hills to climb because you have to get them back for the second week. But if you can, you get twice as much time to help them feel known. And that's a huge win.
Don't miss that Tommy just made up his own word again, but knownness.
Which one?
I like that.
Oh, no, that's a real
Knownness.
one. That is no red squiggly line. I'm convinced of it.
Knownness. That could be a book title. That's awesome. Knownness.
That could be a book title. Don't mind me, because I was just reaching for my notes, because I got to write that stuff you're saying, which I should have already had here, but of course it was behind my computer. Okay, tell me more about the 1 week at Eastside. How did it work? It's been like almost 2 years. So what did it look like? How did it work? Not real actual numbers, but just rough estimate, like what were some of the success of it in terms of the numbers and things like that?
Okay. What we did was went to instead of basically a 4 week program that was happening every weekend, we went to 1 week. We did it the first weekend of the month, and again I had studied about 8 churches like CCV in Phoenix area and others that were doing that, and talked about their results, and we talked about, we're big on, and I'm big on this too, that if you have a one program, you really need to be singular in the ask. That if you give people multiple choice these days, they will usually choose D, none of the above. You just give them one ask to say yes or no to. Okay? Yep. So Gene and I and a couple of the people from our leadership team, we're in this think tank together, and we said, okay, if we have to name that tune in one note, what note is it? And we really thought long and hard and prayerfully about it, and we decided at this point that it was to volunteer, that it was that one. In our 4 weeker, it was decide to follow Jesus, get in a small group. Week 2, week 3 was volunteer. Week 4 was get your feet wet in a compassion initiative. That's how we do it. A lot of churches I work with, their 4th week was generosity, but whatever, people pick their ask strategically for their vision and for their pathway. But so we picked what was our 3rd week and the ask of the 3rd week, and made that our only ask for this one program. The reason we did it is because, especially post-COVID, again, COVID being such a changer, an accelerator of so many things, is that it was a much better ask for a guest. That, if you have to choose between small group and and ministry team volunteering to get them engaged. That what's the easier ask? To go to a house you've never been to meet a group of people you don't know who have a history you're not a part of, or while you're at this campus that you're already familiar with, you have been told that you have something to give that's going to totally bless somebody else. Would you be willing to stick around and give that while you're here to somebody who needs it? You're gifting, what God's given you to give to somebody else. That's a much easier ask for engagement than the other.
Especially for introverts, right? Like if I'm an introvert, which I kind of am, I would much rather go volunteer where I might not have to talk that much to people I don't know, versus the group thing. It's like, that's all I have to do.
You could pick a role that fits you, that you don't have to talk to people. You could work on the tech team and twist knobs or something. You could work in facility and fix stuff, but whatever it is. And so it allows for that kind of customization. And the other thing is we looked at it from a spiritual formation point of view and a discipleship point of view, is that what Jesus did with the 12 looked a lot more like a ministry team than it did a small group Bible study. And the big revelation to me over the last 2 years was we all have thought that small groups are a discipleship arm, and I don't really believe that they are anymore. They're not. Mainly because our vision of discipleship is content driven. It's education driven. So the idea was if you know the Bible really well and you could even communicate it or teach somebody else, you're a fully baked disciple. It's all content defined.
Yeah.
But Jesus's was outcome driven. And that was happening in the context of a ministry team. It was scripture applied, dealing with learning how to forgive others 70 times 7 and not compete with one another. The greatest among you will be your servant. This kind of evil thing only comes out through prayer and fasting. Like they're in it and they're figuring it out as they go. And the truth is, every one of your listeners right now, they are not doing what they're doing in a church because they attended a cool Bible study. They are doing what they do because somebody invited them into the game. That's why I'm here, true. Tommy, you here. And the kingdom, to whatever benefit that we have brought to the kingdom of God, somebody who's benefited that owes the thank you note, not to us, but to the person who invited us. For me, it's Mrs. El Salvido. When I was in 5th grade, she asked me to play piano for children's church. And then when I got to Eastside, when I was 14, not long afterwards, it was play keyboards in the high school band and to co-teach 5th grade boys with the pastor's son. That is why I'm here. You get into the game and you see God move, and you're in, too. And I've taught this. We've had at Eastside green, yellow, red kind of qualifications. Green is a Buddhist could do it. Just show up. Yellow, you got to be a baptized Christian. Red, we're going to check your social media, and we're going to get, because you're going to lead a ministry team, you're going to lead a small group, whatever. Yeah. And in climbing the Assimileas, we have a 4-level version of that that we talk about. But what we always thought was that those volunteer qualifications were just so that we didn't place them over their head, or we protected ourselves from a bad situation, or blah blah blah. All of a sudden, we realized that's a discipleship pathway. And that
start here, do this, then
people that were in it chose to make significant life change moments, to aspire to do greater things in ministry, just like the disciples did with Jesus. So it really reframed some things for us and really elevated the role of volunteerism, not just to serve the church or to keep plates spinning, but to make a disciple and engage a guest. So anyway, that's where we went and why we went there. And
give me a quick what it looked like. So they came to us something after service, during service, and what was the call to action at the end? Tell me that a little bit.
Okay, so they come in and they get assigned to tables of birds of a feather, and how'd you find Eastside? What made you come back? Some of the stuff we've done for a long time. And then our campus pastor would come and tell their Eastside story in 5 minutes or less. This is how I got here. You're new here. And then video one was Gene talking about his first of two truths, which was God made you to love you. And he shared his story and how he got to Eastside, and ends up, he did a thing of where would you put your X on this line? Exploring, deciding with a cross, to follow Jesus.
Okay.
Believing, growing, and devoted. And then he would share the gospel and invite them to respond, raise their hand, right? And then in between, we'd have you share where you put your X. That became very strategic for the ask in a moment. Where'd you put your X and Y?
I like this.
And then we did this thing, and people who follow me know about our community ball, where you get people in a circle and they touch it, it lights up, and you explain. It's really this interactive thing where everybody becomes a first grader and starts giggling and loving it because they see it lights up, makes sounds. When they do that, they just love it. And then, but it shows the power of connection. And then,
we did this when I was there. I know what you're talking about. You showed it to us when we were on site.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
And then video 2 was the second truth, which was, see, God made you to love you, and God wired you to make a difference. And it's an 8 minute of the best pitch to just get your feet wet. Try it out. No commitment, just an invitation. It's just serving.
Yeah.
Then we developed, we used the rock, we developed an assessment that they could do in 3 to 5 minutes. And the first thing it asks after your contact information is, where did you put your X? So it's only going to give you volunteer positions that reflect where you're at in the journey and filter out the others.
Okay? Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So that
based on your red light, green light, yellow light, red light. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So then they got some, like a position that they might be interested in. And then we had different staff or key leaders come in the room and do what I would call a one-stop all-access tour. So if you landed on kids ministry, the kids pastor came into the room and he'd take you into the kids area and do a pitch. And then you'd fill out an interest form and you're in the process to get placed should you want to. It might start with shadowing, looking at the job description, you're just interested. But that's how it ended.
So it kind of ends with a volunteer tour, which is something that anybody that's listened to us for a long time, me or my business partner Kenny with Ministry Boost, we're huge on tours. Like that's our basically our secret hack for volunteer recruiting is the tour. So and you've got them prepared. It's really funny that you said that because when I went to find my notebook earlier, I was like, we do tours. And we do a dessert with Dave. Our pastor's Dave, but it's a night of the week. That's a full dinner, but we call it dessert with Dave. And literally what I wrote down was like, I think we should do the tour and dessert with Dave somehow together. But of course it couldn't be what it is now, which is a different night. This is so funny. Okay, and that's what it has been now. And do you have any idea roughly what the numbers are of like what percent of people will come to it or take a step after or things like that?
We would I will say this: some of the stats that are readily here are that we got it to the point where I'd say we had roughly, on average, if you average all the campuses together, 75% on average, maybe sometimes 80%. There were campuses that would have 100%. We noticed the smaller the church or the campus, the higher the percentage.
That makes sense. Fun. That's true of a lot of stats. A lot of true of retention, true of a lot of things. Yeah.
But on average, say 75% or 80% of the people would fill out an interest form. Yeah, I want to check that. I want to try that out. And then our goal was 50% placed, but we were hitting 41% placed of those. Those people.
Yeah. And do you track at some point? You might not know this offhand. And part of this is selfish. I feel like part of this whole call in some ways is me just wanting some consulting for our church again, Greg. You've helped us so much over the years. Yeah. It's like we got to come back and I got to ask you questions again. Because I feel like we actually do a pretty good job of getting people to the New Here area in our lobby. We worked on that years ago. Our friend Rich Birch was helpful with that. All roads lead to New Here is something he would say.
Yeah. Yep.
And that worked. And I would say, at our best, we get 90-ish% of our new people that are created in the system have come through New Here, which is pretty high.
Wow.
Right? I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it is that high now. I bet it's more like 80. I think it dipped. But it was pretty good.
Where did the other ones come from, out of curiosity?
Like imagine, and that's saying like maybe they had new kids, but now we count that. If you if you check in a kid, to us that is also New Here because we treat it the same. You get the same thing.
Okay, so you counted that as New Here.
We do count that as New Here too, yep. And we even treat it that way on Sunday. Like if you go to kids, you don't need to go to New Here.
Good.
Because you did.
I like
you did.
that. Yeah.
Does that make
Excellent.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
We just didn't want him to like, oh, you went here. Now after the service, you got to go
there
here. It's
now.
like,
Yeah, because we
yeah,
couldn't
let's
bring the
just
gift
treat-
over here. That's too much. Yeah,
exactly.
totally.
Yeah. So we just made it all one. So that, but if you never came to New here, but somehow you're in our system, those are the people that are the 10% or the whatever it might be now.
Gotcha,
You're like, we
gotcha.
never saw you at New here, but you're in our system somehow as a new attender. So obviously you dodged us. And I feel like that part's pretty good. I even feel like getting them to our dessert with Dave is actually pretty good. I feel like I'm there at almost all of them. I'm at a table. I'm having conversations. I'm shocked how new people are, that are there, just because I feel like I'm the kind of introvert who like, I'd be checking this out for 3, 4, 5 months, before, you know what I mean? And, I just feel like the next step is where our gap is, so you said you're getting 75-ish% who are signing up for something, like they're interested, 50%, half of them are taking a step. I don't think we have that. And we do a survey every 2 years as we want to make sure, we want to see who we're reaching. Are we still reaching people that are not a part of any church? It's we've done it every 2 years since the beginning. And one of the things that survey keeps telling us is it takes a long time for us to get somebody from attending to serving and connected. I don't know that it feels like that when you're at Dessert with Dave. It feels like there's new people there. It feels like many of them do take a step. And some of the math supports that. But I tell you what, that survey just keeps telling us like it takes a while. And I just don't. Do you all see that when you help churches? Like, I know you probably don't even know in a real number, but like, and Tommy, maybe you could speak to this. How long do you think it takes on average for a new tender to get to serving or in a group, either one, at these churches you're working with or at Eastside?
Let me say two things that would inform your listeners if they are wondering about this topic. The first thing is that because our ask was a big ask, I always compare it to a dating relationship, that it's always great to introduce your date to your parents, but not on the first date. It's the right thing at the wrong time in the relationship. And that's kind of when we went to serving, that's kind of what happened. Yeah. So one thing that increased our percentage, it lowered our attendance though, but it increased our percentage was we waited till they were coming for 3 months before they got invited. Okay. And our promos, we weren't promoting it to new people. We were promoting it to, if you're ready to make Eastside your home, then we'd love you to come to First Step, because this is the way to do it. So there's that 3-month thing that we noticed because of people's attendance patterns. The second thing I would say is, I'm losing his name, Miller. It's not Jason Miller. It's not Justin Miller, but he's the pastor of LCBC. Is it LCBC in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I'm good friends with them. Yeah, because they're close to me, not too far. You mean the lead pastor or?
Yes, the lead pastor.
Yeah, it is Jason. I don't know that I can't think of his last name.
Jason Mitchell. Anyway, he has some data in his church, because he's got a 25 campus church, that if they have 10 touch points, personal touch points with a guest in the first 16 weeks, so that's 4 months, that they are 280% more likely to be engaged with the church a year later than if they didn't get that. And
yes, I remember that. It is Jason Mitchell, by the way. But yes, I do remember that. And because that for them, that was part of like they did a whole 4 disciplines of execution. What's our wig, our main goal? And it was like something to do with that. Yeah, I do remember. I mean, in fact, we might have had somebody on the podcast talk about it here. That's interesting.
And it makes sense, though. 3 to 4 month lag time to getting fully engaged. You know what I mean? That has been. I think there's some new developments, but I'll share that later.
Which that feels right, though. Like, I don't expect week 6, you're in a group, you're serving. You know what I mean? Right. Like, but also in my world, in our survey, now part of it is the rhythm. We do the survey the same time roughly every other year. It's usually around our anniversary of our church, so it's in March. And the data I'm giving you is, the people that have been here, like, let's say, because on the survey you indicate when you started attending. And what I do is every time I analyze it, I filter for who are the people that were new last year up until that survey. So about 15 months. There's about a 15-month window. And the percentage of them that are serving in our group is very, very, very low. And that goes to my point about I don't feel like we get them plugged in as fast as we'd like. So, and I'm not looking for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, but I don't love 15 months either. So that's why I was asking. Tommy,
a lot of it is missing that golden window of time where they've been around long enough to say, I feel like I'm going to stay here. But then there's that window where they will take a step if prompted correctly and invited correctly. I think prompted is not the right word. Invited is the right word. And then after a while, they cement that being a part of this church means attending on Sunday. And that cements after a while. And then you have to break that assumption and pattern to get them into something. And so if you miss the window, then you miss out on that chance, and then you've got to break something, and then your pitch has to be so wildly compelling, or their life has to crack, and you have to catch them, and they don't drift, but they actually move in, which is hard to do. It's just all that much more challenging. But that window is really interesting because you can miss it on the front end too. You can miss it by making the pitch too early, and that's what Greg was talking about. When you get somebody at your one program because you said, hey, if you're new here, just come, no pressure, come learn about the church, hear about that learn language, that educational, like, oh, just hear about the church and see if you want to maybe make this your church home. They're going to come with the expectation of, I'm going to see if I should keep attending or not. And that's the decision they want to make going into your program. And then if you make a pitch for serving, they go like, oh, no, I was just deciding if I'm going to come here or not. Yeah. But if you make the pitch and your audience is people who want to make it their church home, then you don't have to spend time at your program also convincing them that they should make this their church home. They decided that already. They've been around for 90 days. They've been around for 4 months. They're sticking around. They're not going anywhere. So you don't have to waste the time going, well, here's our doctrinal statement. Here are our values. They know the values. They hear them every Sunday. They see them every Sunday, and they experience them every Sunday. They're convinced this is their church. They want to know what to do about it. And so then you can gear that entire experience toward helping them make a decision to act. And then the program is completely different. And you're actually driving conversion, not just a mental decision to keep attending.
And piggybacking on that is that historically churches have made their one program either a membership class or a find out more about us class in some way. So you go there and they exegete the statement of faith. They talk about the causes and missionary groups they support. They talk about the how many pastors they've had, the history of where their facilities have been, where they've been located. They talk about all this stuff just in case you want to know, and most of the time they don't. And my big thing is moving from just in case information to just in time. Because there is no other place in the world any of us, even church leaders, would go to something like a timeshare presentation where we have to hear all of this stuff, that all we want to know is X or Y. And we live in this world where we have the information just in time. We're living in the AI world. We ask the question, we find out the answer like that. So you have to create these moments to be just in time information where there's some personalization, there's conversations, they're at tables, they're not in rows, all this stuff where they're getting the information that they want, not what we want to tell them, but what they want to know, and when they want to know it, rather than these information blasts that just deaden the soul. They don't care. It
put you
matter.
to sleep. It reminds me of I don't know if you follow Donald Miller anymore, his story brand stuff, his marketing stuff. He always tells people, it's like, nobody cares that your uncle created the company and it was in 1956 or whatever. It's like, what problem are you trying to help them solve, and how can you help them solve it? And this is similar in a sense. It's like what, and one of the things I wrestle with, if we can go a little bit long, because I do want to get to like what's coming next. I do want to ask about that, is I do feel like, and Gene, obviously your pastor has a video part in that thing, and you're hearing his story. I do think that helps. I think people want to be
campus church too.
Yes, and I think even in a single site, you want to be connected to the main voice that you see from stage. You want to feel like you know them, and that's why I think we get people, to ours. Yeah. And our pastor does tell a story. Now it's not a fast story, because and I like it because it's connected to the vision. Yeah.
But
okay. So I was just curious about that.
To know him. Yeah.
So and I think the part that I'm still wrestling with is how much are we telling you too much about our church, and like you're saying, the theology isn't the right word, but like some of the foundations of that, because we do hit that. It's almost like, I'm just saying this out loud, thinking through it out loud. It's almost like we know part of the room's coming from another church. Our church reaches anywhere from 50 to 60% of the new people were not a part of a church in the past year before they started attending, which I think is very good.
Awesome.
And it's been consistent for years based on that survey I told you. But still, even if let's say 60% are not coming from the church, 40% are. Like in that room, during that Dessert with Dave, almost half the people do have a theology, do have a church history and a map and questions and things. And there's part of me, it's like, I like your idea. I want to go back to your thing about where they checked where they are in their faith journey and you make their next step according to that. Because there's part of me, it's like, I feel like we're spending too much time on the 40%, making sure this is a fit for you, and not enough time on the 60%. So what do you think about that? And how are you using that where they gauge themselves on their journey to dictate their next step?
I'm sorry, what's the 40%? What's the 60%?
Oh, sorry. In my church, 40% roughly of the people that started coming to our church are coming right from another church. They're church transfers.
Oh, okay.
And then 60%, they haven't been a part of a church in the last year, regularly attending. So, and I feel like those are different audiences. You know what I mean? Like the 40% wants to know the theology and the values and tell me about what you believe about this.
I think
the 60% might not be thinking that. They might be thinking, am I going to like it here? And how do I get involved? And, what is that?
If you create a program that has the elasticity to be just in time instead of just in case, then everybody gets their questions answered. So for instance, I once did a thing where how many people go to our statement of faith, that page on our website? It's the lowest. The one time I did it, I never did it more than once. It's the lowest hit rate of any page on your website. But there are people who ask that question, but I find those people ask it before they come. So they use our chat box on our website. I get those all the time, and I respond to those. So those people, their just in time is because they don't want to waste their time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because they know what to ask.
They kind of check that box ahead of time. But if incoming, it makes them think, oh, I should ask about that because of something that was said or something they see. Well, they can ask that at a table. Like, when there's some Q&A and they have a great table host, if you know that this question that group needs, but they're so the minority, well, they have a moment to do that. They can even talk with that person after it's done and ask some deeper questions and get those things. But you don't build the program around it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you don't do a program-wide Q&A so that everybody has to sit and listen to the intricacies of what you believe about the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, hey, if you have a question about theology, about, ecclesiology, you start throwing out all the big words. You go, we're all sticking around afterward. Just come, we'll chat about it. It'll be great.
Or any
Move
social
all that
issue.
out.
I mean, it'll kill
nobody
it.
Needs to sit. Nobody needs to sit
It's
through
almost
that.
dangerous to talk about certain issues in that environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I led it one time. I got all of the. If you right now guessed like 4 of the or 5 of the most hot button theological issues in church, I led one of these back in the old days when it wasn't Dessert with Dave, and I got 4 of the 5 probably in one. And one thing was like, this is going to be interesting. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. Tell me about the new thing you're thinking about, you're working on. You haven't even done it yet. By the time people listen, maybe you've been doing it.
We haven't even done it yet, so I never share things. It's only because Nick is pulling this out of me. I never share things until I have results to report, because people sometimes will say, well, what are you doing? Okay, let's do it. I don't want that. I'll just tell you, we're on the cusp of a bold experiment that we're getting ready to do, where, and let me tell you what made us try this out. In the last 2 years alone, not only did we get less people to our 1 weeker because we realized our ask meant we had to target a smaller group, okay? But the other thing was the dynamics in the last 2 years have changed in the world and in our culture in actually a positive way. There are people hungry. They want to know they want to know God, and they want to know what the Bible says about God, and they're coming to, I keep telling the story about this person I baptized a few Saturday nights ago. Met her ahead of time to show her where the baptistry is. So how long have you become to Eastside? I never heard of Eastside. What? She goes, yeah, I've never been before. Oh, you're from our online campus? No, I've never heard of Eastside. Why are you here? She said, well, I was watching The Chosen 3 months ago. I'm from an unreligious family. I've never been to church in my life. Vowed I'd never date a religious person. But my friend had me watch The Chosen. So 2 months ago, I bought a Bible, started reading the Old Testament and New Testament concurrently, and I happen to be the game day operations coordinator for the NFL. So I work on Sundays, and I Googled who could baptize me on a Saturday, and your form came up, because I now realize I want to follow Jesus, and so I want to be baptized. So she never heard of us. We were just there she didn't know it was in the context of a church service in front of other people till we were in the water.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Wow. That's
we've
awesome.
had two more similar to that since then. We've got homeless people that are coming on campus on weekends that aren't asking for money. They're asking us to explain what's in the Bible to them. It is absolutely, and then you go, Iran's the fastest growing church, and what's going on in Europe. And China. It's just absolutely nuts right now. God is doing something new. Well, because of that, I suspect, these are all suspicions. So join me in the think tank, not, create something and tell
Yep.
me about it, right? It is, I think the attendance patterns are changing for that group. In other words, when they come, they're willing to come every week. They're so hungry. They don't care.
Yeah.
They really
Yeah,
are.
I agree with you. Even data would support this, right? Like the younger generations, that whole thing about Gen Z and attendance patterns, millennials and things like that. Yeah, and then again, you're tapping into something I have wrestled with our church, is that we'll turn 20 years old in March. And when we were started, it was almost like we were started for skeptics. And that's just not exactly the audience right now, right? Would you agree?
Yes, you're right. It is very intentional seekers. It's just incredible. It's so, what that's done to us is we realize that there are people who are way hungrier than just waiting 3 months to come to our thing to be asked to volunteer. They're just so hungry. So what we're doing is we are going to really focus on, instead of getting first-time guest contact info at our one place like we call Guest Central, we're going to experiment with getting rid of Guest Central. Our one place is going to be our grill or cafe, and if you're new here, just go get a free meal on us. And it's going to be, we're going to just try to radical hospitality the whole thing and just really engage people in a very welcoming way. And then we've noticed that interest meetings that are 15 minutes long after our service, to go on a compassion trip, to go to Israel with Gene, to find out about this or whatever else, they're really well attended. So what we're going to do is strategic focused interest meetings for 15 minutes, say before our semesters for small groups, we'll do a small group interest meeting. We'll do a serving interest meeting, a few times a year. And there's a bunch of these going on. And our one program will become interest meetings. Okay. And so, and we're gonna try that out and see what the results are. And so there'll be various, if it's a small group, because we're going to be launching this whole deep Bible study thing. You want to know things about God? Come to that. You know what I mean? And we'll just, we're going to give that a big try and see how that works, because our attendance was going down now in the new thing, but we had in the last 5 quarters, so more than a year and a half, 15 months, we baptized 1,800 people. But
you've always done a good job of that as part of your thing. Whatever it was, the 7 week or the 4 week or the 1 week, that has always been a strength, in my opinion, which I think is awesome.
Well, here's what's become the weakness, which kills me because it's in my area, is that we did some study in that only 24% of those baptized are engaged in a small group in a ministry team. So it was time to shake the Etch-a-Sketch again and to do it quicker than we've ever done it before, because we want to engage those people and get them in the pathway. So when we get their contact information is really going to be when they're baptized and when they come to an interest meeting to engage. So all the leads now are going to be hot leads, and not just I walked in the door, and we're trying to get you to engage with us. Now we're responding to you and what you want right now, and giving it to you just in time.
Could a volunteer tour that helps you serve be a regular part of that? Like, because every 4 weeks there's a tour, and that you know what I mean? Yeah, okay. Because we're big. One of the things we do teach churches is do a volunteer tour every week or every other week. Certainly a church your size, every week. That we would teach that. When Kenny was at Mariners Church up the road from you, he did it twice a week, because it's such a big church. He did a Saturday and a Sunday every week. And because when you do a tour, it's not like a class. You don't need critical mass. You don't need 25 people to make the room feel good.
One person's
a tour.
great.
It could just be me and Tommy. We're just walking around the campus.
That's a pretty great
And he would
tour.
have plenty of tours where nobody showed up and all that kind of stuff. Now, small, churches that are not as large, it's like we'll say every other week. But we even like every other week more than every month, just because if you miss one, which they do, they sign up and they don't come. You're not waiting a month or whatever. So interesting. So It'd be funny
It
if you
is.
ended up back in your think tank, if you ended up back in this thing where like it's almost like growth track again, except they're not connected. You know, it's like the tour is the first Friday, Sunday,
That would be
the
funny.
group
Yeah.
thing is the second, you know, but you don't launch groups that often. So I think
Yeah.
what I like about this is what you said, they're hot leads. They want to take that step, whatever that is, that interest meeting they're attending, and you're then leveraging that to get them connected. So it sounds like you're going to talk less about, you're going to transfer less information, less content, and get to taking a step faster, right? I mean, is that what I'm hearing? Yeah.
Yes, you are. And then another aspect of it that's worth saying is that we're going to take all the volunteers that were like table hosts and table coaches, whatever, and convert them into, I don't know what we're going to call them, but for the sake of this podcast, we'll call them next step coaches. And what they, as soon as you're baptized, it has a QR, you have a bracelet that says first step, and to find your next step, it hangs on the tag, scan this, and it's an appointment, free coffee at our cafe with one of these. They just want to hear your story, and we want to share your story. But what they're going to do is invite them into the appropriate interest meeting, or to have them forget the interest meeting. I can sign you up right now to find out, or
just skip
I
it.
can take you on the all access tour myself.
Oh yeah, that's great. They can do all the things.
We can do it all. They're equipped to do it all. And
You
it's
probably
very
already thought about
relational,
this.
It's high touch.
Yeah, I feel like everybody, the people that work the cafe, these next steps coaches, they're all going to read. You got to read Unreasonable Hospitality as a team, right?
What's
you should
the
read
book
that.
called?
It's called Unreasonable Hospitality. It's like the story of the restaurant in New York that the Bear show is. It's a great book. Our church,
cool.
my team read it, and it's like it's like you have an opportunity to do that because like it is. It's like their guest. That's your cafe. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be ways that your team can be unreasonably hospitable, you know what I mean, as they are. Because imagine you're sitting there coaching somebody. I don't know, I'm just thinking, we thought through this as a team after we read it. We were like, how could this show up in our world? You know what I mean? And it's like, well, you meet the new family and you find out, I don't know, something about that kid. Maybe they love soccer or something like that, and they got a big game they're nervous about. And like you mail something that's about that, you know, encouraging them, or it's something, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. The book talks about those kind of things. That'd be kind of fun for you. You could do that now because you have personalized connections, you know?
And I think this has been true about any one program. I said it before, it's about knownness, not information. What's interesting about this is at the front of it sounds like, oh, they're just going to 15 minutes. That's going to be information transfer. But what Greg knows so well, and that what I want everybody to hear, is that it's still going to be about knownness. They're just moving how that knownness gets transmitted. It's going to be all about living and dying on follow-up. All going to be follow-up. And people are going to be owned by, like, this is my person. I got to sign this person, and I'm going to go chase them down. I'm going to go text them again. I'm going to own their journey as their guide. It's really about that kind of story brand Donald Miller style of I'm the guide, and I'm going to figure out what they need and what they want, and I'm going to deliver it to them, and I'm going to skip steps even, and that'll make them feel good, right? Oh, you don't need to go to the interest meeting if you don't need to, or you missed it, that's fine. I followed up. Hey, so sorry you couldn't make it to the thing that you signed up for, or whatever it is. You want to just grab coffee and I'll tell you about it. All of that, it's going to give you that creativity to just move somebody along, because they all know the outcome is what I'm aiming for, and the outcome is what they want to do and what's best for them. And it's all going to live and die on that follow-up. It's not going to be about how tight that 15-minute pitch can be. That's going to be important, and no wasted words in 15 minutes, right? It's got to be dialed in. Yeah. But it's still going to live and die on follow-up and knownness. And I think that's the part that can't get missed, no matter what knownness you do. In a 4-week program, 2, 1, anything.
I looked it up. Knownness is a word, Greg. We're learning new stuff here.
I told you.
Maybe he got it added. He's too bad or something 2 years ago.
Tommy was
would have
doing
liked
that
to
while we were
invent a
talking.
word.
He was just adding it to the
he got it
lexicon.
added into. He got it added into Wiki.
He's that way.
Yeah. That should be the title of the book that you all write about this. I want to hear. Tell us about, Tommy, maybe you tell us about how you're working with churches. You have moved from, Greg, you had the course, Climbing the Assimileas, which we have pointed people to on our site forever. Now there's like a membership community, which I think is great because it's like you get we all love getting ideas from other people. Like, for example, people in your community, just like my church, don't have a cafe. So they're going to have to think, okay, how do I apply that same principle into this world where, like, we're not going to have coffee in the lobby?
Small campuses have free coffee. So I'll get you a coffee and we'll just sit over here. You know, it's very adaptable.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So what does that community look like? How do people join it?
Yeah, we call it the Sherpa tribe because we are relentlessly in the metaphor of climbing the Assimileas, and we're dad joke to the extreme on that. So we're relentless on the metaphor. We call the Sherpa tribe, and it's just a group of people that not only go through the content, we got a bunch of action plans. They're all redesigned. From the original video course, it was just a big, giant information transfer. And we realized one day, I feel like we're not drinking our own medicine on this, like information transfer. We're still seeing an education to implementation gap in people who get this video course. And then they just call us and ask about personalizing it and contextualizing it. And what about this? And what about that? And what about this edge case? And so we figured, let's just design it around that. So we redesigned all the content so it's stuff you can accomplish in a month. Every action plan that's a video course.
A ton of new content too, in addition to the video
ton. We doubled all the content basically and reorganized it. So like, I could focus on my one place this month. And it's kind of like even got a 4-week lineup. I can focus on my one program this month. And so it's stuff you can accomplish in a month, which feels a lot better and a lot different. And there's way more content than ever. And it's all kind of checklist based in that way. Like I just got to check all these boxes, make all these decisions. So that's the content. But what we realized was we just like talking to all these people in our tribe a lot. So let's just design it around that. So we have a weekly Zoom call, which we kind of wanted to be a little bit outrageously hospitable on this too. It was just like, let's do a weekly Zoom call where anybody can jump in. We have no agenda. We have no content. It's not like, here's what we want to tell you that's really smart. I literally start every call, or Greg starts every call with, what you working on? And every time we fill up that hour like it's
get the best
nothing.
ideas from other people. And,
of
and
course.
It's so good. And then we get
working.
to just coach right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
okay,
so that's the Sherpa tribe. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
Nick, I was just going to say, the reason I believe in this tribe for a lot of people, I'm using a new, this thought of, if your assimilation program, whether it's in the context of young families or the church as a whole, needs to resuscitate a little bit, this is the CPR for it, and the C is it's cheaper than staff. You just bring a staff person through this, or even a high level volunteer in a small church, and they jump into this and they literally become experts at what they do. Which the P is people development. Sometimes we feel guilty that we're not developing our people enough. This is a way to do it. And we had somebody that took it, became such an expert, they were part of the tribe, at what they did, that they ended up getting promoted and given a new job description at their church. Because
we don't promise promotions, but they are possible.
Sure.
Yeah, we can't promise that you'll get one too. But anyway, and then the R is results. We were just working with a church that went from 10 identified guests per week to 62 guests per week in 2 months.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not that hard, because all of these videos have action points. We're troubleshooting and brainstorming together. And it really is a great way of being a community, a fun way. And it's a very great learning environment too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then the only other thing is, when you're in the tribe, we have a 49-point audit that we encourage everybody, like when you jump in, we're like, hey, what are you working on? Actually, don't even answer that yet. Do the audit. See what you need to work on. But that's also available for free on the website. Anybody could jump in, do that audit. They could even schedule a debrief call if they want to get kind of some customized advice. Yeah. And it's the whole journey. Basically you rank how you're doing, or grade how you're doing in every meaningful point on a guest's journey, from first time all the way to fully engaged disciple. So it's all focused on their experience, not, am I doing the right things? No, it's, are we accomplishing results for them? Because they want to be fully engaged. They want to be in the center. They want to be known, and they want to be seen, and they want to be useful. So we need to meet them there and give them results on their journey. So it's all focused on that journey. But you can go do the audit for free right now, and then jump into the tribe for a month, a quarter, a year, whatever it is that you think is going to make the most sense for you.
That's great. Yeah, I'm going to do the audit for sure, and I'm sure everybody should. I mean, obviously, I've been through rounds of this with you, Greg, where we've been through this multiple times. Like, I'm always wanting to make it better, and we've run our system now for at least a couple years. And the new here part, too, I mean, that's been in place for years, so it's definitely time for an audit. It's like a car checkup. You know what I mean? Like, we're overdue. So we'll link to that
in the
we'll link to that in the show notes. It's assimileas.com. Even if you misspell it, Google will make you find it, I'm sure. It's too unique. You know what I mean? It's like being Carrie Newhoff or something. It's like, even if you don't spell it right, it's going to find him. You know? It's gonna find it. Google knows what you're looking for. So we'll link to both of those. Guys, this is awesome. This is exactly what I was hoping for. I just wanted to see what you're doing, what you're learning. Didn't even know I was in store for like something new. So that was fun as well. I just wanted to hear what I knew you were doing. Just being on your email list. If nothing else, people got to join your email list and get those updates. So, and they can do that there too. So thanks for taking the time and for talking about this and for doing this important work and helping the rest of us. Because obviously we all want to help people take next steps towards Jesus. And thanks for being like on top of it too. It's easy to just, I don't know, become an expert in something and it doesn't work anymore. You know what I mean? Or run that old couch in the church into the ground and keep it there. But you keep thinking like, how do I stay with trends and culture? And that's huge. And to be frank, a lot of us, like you said earlier, a lot of churches don't even have somebody that leads assimilation. That's very true, especially any church under 800 or something, which is most churches. It's nice to have people like you out there doing it as like the think tank, you know, in the research lab, and then we can learn from your experience and apply the principles and stuff like that. So appreciate it, guys. Thank you.